Wu'er Kaixi, tell us about what happened to you back then, and why were you so angry at the Prime Minister?
Yes. First, let me thank Overseas Press Club in providing this wonderful opportunity to talk to you. Earlier in the lunch panel that I saw a lot of familiar faces that I saw back in Tiananmen Square, and now I look at the audience, I still see many familiar faces, good friends, heroes. I would like to first begin with recognizing someone. Zheng Xuguang, 在哪儿? He was here, but then
maybe ducked out.
Probably yes. He just left China about 6 months ago, and then I saw him a couple of days when I just came to New York. And he was a good friend of mine back in Tiananmen Square, and he was listed number 9 on the Chinese government's most wanted list.
Tell us about that. Is there really such a thing, a most wanted list? How do you know about that?
Well, they made sure that we know it. It's quite overwhelmingly we clearly broadcast it. I think on the electronic media, like radio or TV, it's repeated at almost every hour. And then the posters of 21 of us, including here, Zhou Fengsuo, and my ugly face on it, and it's everywhere. I was trying to escape from.
So China. There are 21 people, survivors, that the Chinese government broadcasts their presence and their pictures, trying to harass you, or are they trying to kidnap you? What are they trying to achieve?
Arrest. And then Zhou Fengsuo is the first person of the 21 of us to get arrested, sitting right here. And then, so yes, most wanted. One of the greatest honor that in my life, being most wanted by the Chinese government. Number 2, and even, pretty good ranking. And then I think after Wang Dan got arrested, hey, I bumped into number 1. And 30 years is a long time. And then, that earlier video clips kind of demonstrates that. And then every year we come to the June 4th, we repeat that phrases. Time flies. Well, and then I have a facial here and then big belly to prove that. And today, but it's a long time. We are really worried that 30 years is too long for people to keep remembering, and then remembrance is form of resistance. Even maybe one of the most humble way to resist. But remembering is important, and I want to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the colleagues in the media who are sitting in the perfect, setting and occasion, Overseas Press Clubs, and then a lot of you helped us to remember, helped the world to remember, helped. This is an uphill battle because one of the most powerful government is fighting really hard to make sure people to forget. So this war is continuing. I remember back in 1989. So many experts here, and they're really not. There is no necessity for me to make a political analogy here. We all know what's going on, but let me tell you some a personal account. When I was in the movement, one day I was contacted by a journalist who wants to interview me. At that time, a lot of journalists interviewed me, but this pair of journalists, they are very special. They're from Chinese Youth Daily, 中国青年报, Chinese Youth Daily. It's the propaganda piece of the Chinese Communist Youth League, the para-organization for the younger generation in China. Well, basically they're communists. They're the mouthpiece of the communists. And 2 journalists came to me and said, want to interview. I said, well, you're not going to publish anything. Why you want to interview? And then they say, they probably won't publish it. And then we appreciate what you are doing here and fighting for the freedom. And especially one of the most important slogan, one of the most important demand of the 1989 student war, press freedom. So he says, at least being a journalist, we 2 of us need to do our job to conduct this interview and submit it. And probably will never get printed. So I think it was one of the most touching, and then was certainly the one that I remembered clearly, one interview that I conducted for no hope of being broadcast. So that tells us, and nowadays I work closely with Reporters Without Borders in Asia, and trying to, and then we just released our index for 2019. China is ranked among 180 countries, 176. I live in Taiwan now. I want to gladly report that Taiwan is in a good shape. Better. It has always been like a number one in Asia. This year we got surpassed by Korean, but they're also doing a good job. We ranked 41 and 42. 40 and 41. Sorry, Korea 40 and Taiwan 41. United States 42. So we did a better job than United States. In Tiananmen, we fought for democracy. One of the questions I was asked the most is, what do you guys know about democracy? You never lived in democracy. That is true. It caught me there. We never lived in democracy. But how come we fight for democracy? Well, because we have a damn good knowledge about lacking of democracy. That has put ideas in a perspective. And then the word democracy.
What would you say was the primary intellectual funnel or the intellectual responsibility for the burst of desire for democracy? Was it the presence of the Western media? Was it presence of what was the intellectual spark that sparked all of you?
The word democracy is not denied in China. They just put an adjective before that. It's called people's dictatorship democracy.
People's democratic dictatorship.
Okay.
人民民主专政.
Or 人民专政民主, one way or another. It just, and then, but as I was saying, and then the word democracy in Chinese is 民主. Its transliteration back into English is people rule. People take part in, and then it's not really a hard concept, even for a country that has no democracy whatsoever. But the Communist Party couldn't deny the value of democracy. They just want us to divert the attention of the idea of taking part in. And then in the whole 80s, the country have moved forward under the slogan of the great architect of the new era, Deng Xiaoping. Open and reform. The 1989 students the student movement were not aimed to overthrow the government, not even aimed to overthrow the Communist Party ruling. In fact, in the May 4th 70 years anniversary march, which I was the general commander in that one, we decided the slogan of that march includes "Long live Communist Party." It's not like we love the Communist Party so much we want them to long live. It's we want to establish our stance. We are not here to be your enemy. We want to hold yourself accountable for your promises to Chinese people. Open and reform. That's your slogan. Do just that, but not just on economic spectrum, but also we need our rights. We want. I was often quoted by one of the interviews that I gave. I believe it was Associated Press. And says Wu'er Kaixi says he wants Nike shoes and bring his girlfriends to the bar. This is one of the often quoted interview that I've given. Yes, we want that. We also want to take part in of decision-making process. We want much more than just that, and we want political rights to guarantee we can have the access of those things, the material things. And there is one thing the Chinese people are really afraid of is chaos. I mean, Chinese people went through Cultural Revolution, are hysterically afraid of the country sinking into chaos. I use the term hysteric. It means it's a psychiatric term. It basically means it's ill thinking. It's but Chinese people are just like that. And then Communist Party have been able to carry through their ruling by saying, if you have democracy, you're going to lose that. You're going to lose your stability. In the matter of fact, democracy brings stability. And where I live in Taiwan, I can use Taiwan to prove that. Democracy is very noisy, that's for sure. But it's not, it wouldn't bring chaos. Chinese Communist Party bring chaos. Chinese Communist Party bring social unease. And then some people often say, let's look at the great achievement the Communist Party have done in the last 30 years after cracking down the Tiananmen student movement. So it's like they have to be credited for the economic growth. And let's look at what they did in the last 30 years to deserve this credit. What they did is to remove all the controls that Communist Party previously have established in China. So before Deng Xiaoping come to power, Communist Party almost choked China to death. And then they decided to ease their hand a little bit. So we are no longer choked to death. We can breathe now. And then now we should be grateful to the hand that choked us in the first place. Now that it's not choking us anymore. And then why do we hear similar arguments from the West too? Why we are so over-complimenting to the Chinese Communist Party, Chinese regime? We Chinese have a good, when I say we Chinese, it's kind of funny. I'm Uyghur. I'm Uyghur, but let me put it this way. I'm a Uyghur by blood. My parents are Uyghur. I'm a Uyghur. But I'm Chinese by birth. I was born and raised in Beijing as a citizen of People's Republic of China. And then I'm a proud participant of the Chinese democracy movement. I call myself Chinese democracy activist. In that sense, of course, I'm Chinese. Well, and then I'm happy now by choice. I'm a Taiwanese too, yes.
So let's Zhou, get a few comments in here. Are you finished with your thought? Not really, I guess.
No.